So, ever since I moved to Canada, I've gotten a lot of people asking me about the process of being a lawyer in Canada and if they should pursue an LLM, whether it's worth it, whether they're going to get a job afterwards, and similar questions, right? Now, these questions are very specific and it depends on your own personal choice at the end of the day, but I can kind of give you a framework of what I looked into and how I did my research and took the decision that I took to come to Canada, right? And in addition to that, I also want to kind of provide a framework of what the process looks like to be able to be a lawyer here. Now, the first thing is a lot of people have asked me about LLMs. This is okay. I think before I start, I want to make a disclaimer that this is all my own personal opinion and this is all based on my own research. I could have missed something. I could have some things might have changed now because this research was like 2 years ago, and there's a lot of nuances to these things. So please do your own research at the end of the day. Take whatever I say with a pinch of salt and only use it as a guidance to where to start looking for information and make your own decision based on what is more viable for you. Okay, now in saying that, when it comes to LLM, I think that's again, like I said, it's very personal to you, what your budgetary requirements or constraints are, and whether you see more value in a LLM or if you understand the whole process, you might not want to do an LLM anymore. It's just you need to understand all, you need to be able to consider all aspects of the process of being a lawyer here before you take a decision on whether to do an LLM or some other course or just no course at all. So it's completely up to you, but I'm just going to give you an idea. So let's start off with talking about LLMs. If you're going to ask me about what program you should select, that's not something I can comment on because that completely depends upon your own interests and what the program structure looks like for each university that you look at. So that you'll have to do your own research on that and go through the curriculum of each university and each program that you might find you're interested to be in and then make a decision. As for finding a job, because a lot of people ask me that first, what are the job prospects of after an LLM? It definitely gives you a lot of knowledge and skills that you probably need, and it might even allow you to do a small internship during the LLM. But you are not going to get a job as a lawyer after you finish your after you finish your master's. The reason being, you need to understand that law is a regulated profession. You can't just have a foreign law degree, do a master's in this country, and just be a lawyer here. You don't know anything about the basic foundation of Canadian law. So you can't just be a lawyer just because you've done an LLM from here. Just like in India, you're going to have to get licensed here as well before you can be a lawyer. So if you're looking for a job prospect after LLM, maybe, again, I'm not entirely sure because I didn't look too much into this when I was doing my research. Um, Ideally, you would get a position in the capacity of a legal assistant or something of that sort. Um, but you're not going to be a lawyer because even as a junior associate, like for a second, I consider junior associate, but that's essentially a lawyer. So you can't be a lawyer. So ideally, you're going to have to get licensed before you can practice here or be a solicitor. Now, in Ontario specifically, you need to be licensed whether you're going to be a barrister or a solicitor. So I think in other provinces, that requirement might not be there because I think if you're going to be a solicitor, you don't necessarily need to be licensed, but I'm not entirely sure on that. So don't take my word for it. Do your research. Maybe I can make a follow-up video on that. But in Ontario, when you write your bar exams, you need to clear a barrister exam plus a solicitor exam. So you can't be a lawyer at all. In saying that, there is another option that you can consider, and a lot of people who haven't really started looking into this probably don't know about it, right? I got to know about this through IDP consultants. Those are the people who conduct the IELTS exam as well. So they guided me towards diploma programs in Canada. So community colleges, they offer certain diploma programs. They're like usually ranging between 8 months to 2 years. Um, and I know the stigma around diplomas in India, it's not essentially the same thing here. Um, this is kind of seen as like a pre-university degree or something that's more vocational. So look into it. There are two options you have for, actually three options you have for legal services um, in these community colleges, the diplomas that you can look at. These are the three main ones. There are probably some sub category of legal services that you could also look into if you want, but you'll have to do your research on that. So the three diplomas that I know of is legal assistant, law clerk, and paralegal. Now remember when I'm speaking about all this, I'm speaking specifically to Ontario. There are lots of nuances to the other provinces, so I'm just sticking to Ontario. Now, legal assistant, you would be learning a lot more administrative stuff. How to organize an office, how to take care of the front desk, how to kind of um take calls and things like that. It's very administrative. Um, and I'm just giving you like a very basic idea of it. So you'll have to again look at the program structure. The law clerk program is a little bit more advanced than an legal assistant because in the law clerk program, you're going to learn more of the substantive law. You're going to learn more about the procedural law because essentially, law clerks here are doing the job of a junior associate in India. We're responsible for. So I did my law clerk diploma from my college in Ontario, and it's you're basically having to research on things. You're drafting certain documents. You can't sign on anything because you're not authorized to. You're not a licensed professional, but you're pretty much doing everything else. Um, so initially, when you graduate from the law clerk diploma, you're going to start off as a assistant. That's how you kind of grow in the organization. Um, so that's a very good program to look at if you want an entry into the legal industry before you finish your bar requirements, right? So look into that diploma and the legal assistant diploma as well. The third diploma is the paralegal diploma, which is again, paralegals over here in Ontario are licensed professionals. So just like you have licensed lawyers, there's an L1 license that you would get once you finish your bar exams and you finish your all the bar requirements. And so the same thing applies to paralegals. There's You'll have to finish the program and give a paralegal exam, and once you do that, you're going to get a P1 license for being a paralegal. So the thing with paralegals is that they have they have certain authorities of a lawyer, but not to the full extent. So their practice area is much smaller. So I think um, small claims court is one of their practice areas, and they are able to kind of sign off on certain documents when it's related to real estate and notarization, things like that they can do. So certain powers they have, but there's a lot of the substantive part of law and the legal practice they're not going to be able to do. So again, look into what paralegals are and what their practice scope is. So you'll be able to better gauge as to what you want to be and what you want to pursue if you choose to come to Canada. Your paralegal license is not equivalent to your lawyer license, so don't mix those two up. If you're a paralegal, it doesn't mean you can just automatically be a lawyer. You need to get your L1 license as well. Okay, now that we know about those three, you can kind of gauge which is more valuable to you and whether you see more value in doing a diploma or a master's degree is completely up to you, and there's budgetary considerations that you need to make, so very subjective. Okay, I think that's all I have on the education part of it and what uh, degree or diploma or whatever you can kind of take to enter the industry. Now, now the main part is how to get licensed, how to be a lawyer, right? There's several steps to this. So you're not going to be able to just come here, do a degree and jump into it. That's not how it's going to be. It's going to be a process, and you're going to have to go through each step carefully and meticulously, right? So the first step for you to be a lawyer is to get your law degree assessed. So I'm like I said, I'm speaking specifically to India because that's where I've gotten most of my questions from. Um, you need to get your LLB degree assessed by this body called NCA, which is the National Committee of Accreditation. Now, this committee comes under a larger institution, which is called the Federation. I can never get this right. Federation of Law Societies of Canada. So essentially, they're like the head body that governs all the law societies in Canada. And law societies are like the equivalent of bar councils in India. So, for example, like Law Society of British Columbia, Law Society of Ontario, and many more. So, all of these will be governed by the FLSC, Federation of Law Societies of Canada. They have set up this NCA committee so that any of these foreign trained lawyers um, can get their foreign degree assessed. And what happens is once they assess your degree and your experience, if you have any, they assign you certain number of exams that you need to clear before you can apply to the bar. So essentially, there's always going to be 5 papers that are going to be assigned to you. There are 5 mandatory papers. No matter your knowledge and experience, they're going to assign these to you because they're the fundamentals of Canadian law. So the 5 subjects I think are foundation to Canadian law, constitution law, administrative law, criminal law, and professional development. As far as I remember, I think those are the 5 ones. And these 5 you're going to have to clear before you can apply to the bar. Now, when I say clear, you need to simply just pass these exams. That is, I think, 50%. That's all you need to get. If you get 50%, you've cleared it. They're not expecting a 90% grade, or you're not expected to top. So simply have to pass. And I think once you get, so when you're giving your transcripts for assessment, in addition to the 5 subjects, they could give you more if they see that certain subjects in your transcripts you've not done very well in. So let's say, for example, you have somewhat of a below average score in contract law or tort law, right? They are going to assess those papers to you in addition to those 5 papers. So there's no limit on how many papers they can assess. I think there are maximum of 12 subjects, if I'm not wrong. So beyond 12, you're not going to get more. But yeah, if your scores aren't that great, you might get assessed more subjects. So I think that's a good brief idea about what the NCA process is like, but I'm gonna kind of go through the website with you so you have a better idea of what information to find where, right? So let's just switch to that. Okay. So this is the website for Federation of Law Societies of Canada, which is the governing body, like I said. Um, I'm not going to go into details about what this body is. You can look into it if you want. But our priority right now is NCA, right? So that's here. You click on that. I think I already have it open actually. So this is the NCA website. This website, you need to know like the back of your hand. Every last detail on this website is important to you. So go through it thoroughly, and that'll give you a very clear picture of what the process is going to look like as well. So briefly, I can kind of go through it with you. So this is the home page, and okay, you have 3 options here. You are going to select if you're from India, you have a common law jurisdiction law degree, then you're going to select this one. I am a lawyer trained outside of Canada. Okay. If you have a Canadian civil law degree, so this is going to go for civil law degrees as well. But yeah, the second one is only if you have a law degree from Quebec, because that's the only province in Canada which is civil law. The rest of Canada is common law jurisdiction. So this is not going to be relevant to most of y'all. And this is if a Canadian is considering to go outside, to go abroad and do the law degree and then come back. So if they do a law degree abroad and they want to come back, they're going to have to go through NCAs as well. Okay, so we're going to select this. And so you can click on each of these links to kind of go into details of everything. They've covered literally almost everything that you would need to know. So it's the website is very user friendly. So I think you'll get all the information. So one thing I can show you is see if you qualify to apply, right? It's just 3 questions if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So do you have a qualifying law degree? You can read the rest of it. Yes, let's say India for this. Then we have through distance education. Nope. So yeah, there you go. Congratulations, your legal education and training qualify you to apply for an NCA assessment. They've also given you the likely result, right? Okay, how do I answer like this? Okay, whatever. So 5 subjects that I told you, you are going to get assessed, right? The administrative law, constitutional law, criminal, foundations, and professional responsibility. You could get more required, yeah, see, based on your education and experience. So it's pretty straightforward, all of this. Just go through this in detail. There's stuff about the exams if you want. So this is a self-study exam. You're not going to find too many resources specific to NCA, just freely available. Actually, nowadays you do get most of the resources available. So if you go on their website, the exam outlines and samples, they themselves give you sample exams. So you can practice these, and you can get more practice papers if you reach out to certain law schools in Canada. I think you can just email their library department or whatever and just ask them, okay, just let them know that you're an NCA candidate and you're kind of looking for past papers, past NCA papers. They usually just give it to you. So that's one way to do this. And if you click on any of these subjects, right, let's say constitutional law, you're going to see the syllabus. So it is very comprehensive. It speaks exactly what topic you need to be studying, what kind of, see, like chapter 16, paramountcy, right? You're specifically looking at that. And they even specify the important cases that you need to know in each of these chapters. So it's very comprehensive and very straightforward. They're literally spoon feeding you almost. So go through these. The syllabus is very important and it keeps changing. So make sure you're up to date with the latest syllabus. Right. For application, you can go to process, go to application, and kind of just see who can apply, how to apply. The portal is right here. Required documents. Okay. So you guys can go through this by yourselves, but there's just one thing I want to make sure you know. When they ask for transcripts, right? Do not send your original transcripts by yourself. Like, don't go out by yourself and mail it out. They're not going to accept that. They want the transcripts to be sent through your university or college. So I'm sure there's like a department in your college or university that takes care of this. So write to them and let them know that you want to send your transcripts to the NCA office. And then I think there should be like a form or something that you need to fill up, and then they courier it to you. There might be a small fee for the courier, but yeah, they'll courier it for you. Do not send it by yourself. That was one question I think a lot of people had when I was applying for this as well, and I wasn't sure about it, but now you know. Apart from that, everything else is pretty straightforward, so I'm not going to go into much more detail about this. So that's your NCA. Make sure to look into every last detail of this website so you know it very clearly. Another thing, I think after you understand the NCA process, and I think one more thing if I need to add is the resources that you have. Uh, the best resource you're going to find is if you go on Facebook, there's an NCA group. Where you get to talk to people and ask them questions about their experience of studying NCAs, and there are people who have made comprehensive notes, which are so detailed that those notes might be enough material for you to even clear the exams. So It's not free, of course, and there are certain restrictions. You can't just buy it and kind of share it with a lot of people because it's copyright infringement. So it's going to be like a small cost in comparison to like buying the whole books, and you can kind of assess for yourself if that's good enough. So look into that Facebook group, join those groups, and if you have any more questions, you can even ask on that group to get more details. Of course, you can also reach out to me if you want, but yeah. Okay, let's look into the Law Society of Ontario. This again is a very long uh, process. There's a lot of things to know in this as well. So I'm just guiding you where to look, and you guys can do your own research beyond that. So this is the LSO website. This is the Law Society of Ontario specifically. It's going to be different for all the other law societies as well. There might be some commonalities between all of them, but like I said, Ontario specifically has certain very different or unique processes. So, okay, so where we are going to go is becoming licensed, right? Because that's what we're looking at. So, like I said, lawyers, paralegals, they're different. So, there's two different licensing processes. So, for now, we're only going to look into lawyers. You go here and you can look into the details of this. So let's see, lawyers from graduates of international Canadian law schools. Okay, so this is what we are going to look at, right? Now, if you go to Career Map, it opens up this huge PDF, and there's a lot of information on there. It's okay, I don't know what happened. Okay, yeah, there you go. So PDF, right? It's a 32-page document which looks at every last detail. I think it covers NCA as well, briefly, but this again is your holy grail. Know this. Read this thoroughly from the first letter to the last, right? So you're very clear on what the process is going to look like. So that's one thing that you need to be looking at. And overall, if you just want to get a brief idea in the beginning, they've kind of talked about the NCA process here. Then you have the licensing process in a very brief manner again. Okay, this is crucial. Now, in addition to in addition to giving your barrister and solicitor licensing exam, like I said, you need to give both. You will have to finish an articling program. Now, in Ontario, they have two ways of satisfying this articling requirement or experiential training requirement. There's the regular old articling where you join a law firm and kind of just be like an intern with them, or they have the law practice program. Now, the law practice program is offered by a university here, and it's basically like a simulation of a law firm. So, like for 4 months, I think you'll be working in a simulation of a law firm where it's all digitally kind of manufactured in a way to make you feel like you have clients, you have these deadlines, and it's very it's a simulation, right? That plus 4 months of certain theoretical knowledge that you need in terms of practicing law. So this is sometimes a better option for people who might not be able to secure an articling position as easily, um, but it's also got limited space, so it's very competitive as well. But these are the two different options you have. You can choose either one, and it'll satisfy the requirement that you need. So again, I'm not going to go into details of what each program is. I'm just giving a brief idea. You can look into it. That's pretty much it for the overall process, I feel. Beyond this, like I said, if only once you read more about it, you're going to have probably more questions. And if you do have further questions about specific things, I can try addressing it in a separate video if I have enough questions, or I can kind of personally answer the certain questions. But yes, that seems to be the overall idea of the process, and I hope it helps you kind of gauge as to where you need to look for further information. So that's all I got for now. So good luck, and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.